Hi everyone, and welcome to this session. In this session we will cover one of the roundabouts of our strategic roundabout, and in particular one that relates to how to reduce uncertainty. We are at the point when you get here that you have a set of ideas, a set of workout solution to a set of core challenges. And of course, by this time you think you have a lot of certainty because you thought through, you work, and you probably did some simulation, did some backup analysis in order to strengthen your thoughts, but you still are in the realm of future, and as such there is a lot of uncertainty. Well, this technique that is borrowed from science is basically an adaptation of the scientific process of experimentation. Well, it starts with what we call stating the assumption. For any idea that you have developed, and what we ask you to do is to go through a very thorough examination of what are the assumptions behind, i.e. what should be true for your solution to hold true. And this going through, of course, the three level of hypothesis that we outline in the book, being value, growth, and sustainability. Let me repeat you what they are. So value is whenever an initiative, an action, something new will create benefits that outstrip or outweigh the effort required. And in order to do that, you will need to first understand if whatever you found is resolving a problem. If it doesn't solve an important problem, nobody will be prepared to pay. If it is a new product, for example, or if it is an internal initiative, if it doesn't procure sufficient saving compared to the cost of doing it, then it's not worth the while. So just writing down what should be true for the value hypothesis to hold true will help you to understand if you are in a good zone, if you have something that is worth pursuing. And the same is valid for the growth hypothesis, where the real question that you need to ask is, are there a sufficient number of people that will be interested in my solution? How can I reach them? And can I reach them with the same assumption or the same cost, for example, or the same mean and tools that we used to reach the first people through the value hypothesis testing? And the key question to be answered will be how and what kind of impact will it have the scalability of such hypothesis. One thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that when we are looking at the three levels of hypothesis, it's very important to take them progressively, i.e. start from value, move to growth, and then to sustainability. Don't try to run them in parallel, because it is a very risky proposition. Definitely will cost you more in terms of effort, and many times if it doesn't work on a small scale, it will not work on a bigger scale. So statistically, if it doesn't work on a small sample, it will not work on a bigger sample, i.e. if it doesn't work, the value hypothesis, if you cannot prove the value hypothesis, it's almost impossible that the growth hypothesis will be tested. Now, through stating the value, the growth, and the sustainability hypothesis, the sustainability being the ability of your competitor to be able to copy what you did very quickly, and internally being able to promote such innovation towards the organization, you will have passed the first step. So if you feel comfortable that the statement, what you think are the assumptions, are mentally tested, then you are in a very good position. Well, you could add some further testing by just asking colleagues, possibly other stakeholders, what they think about those assumptions. And with this phase, you will, and in our experience, you can avoid a lot of wasted energy for the further phases. Now, moving to the second one, once you have, at least theoretically, you are content, you are happy with those assumptions, you can move to the value hypothesis. Here, the key question is really, how can I find evidence that whatever I'm thinking of doing has a value? And most importantly, has a value that is vivid. It solves a problem that people have now, and they know they have a problem. And not only that, but they have a problem that they feel very strongly about it, and they are prepared to pay a price P, which is higher than the cost C of performing it. And here you will have a number of ways that you can do it, from simply creating a concept of the product, what we call an MVP, a minimum viable product, and then try to show it to people. There are very, very many examples, and recent one like Zappos, the famous online retailer of shoes, that at the beginning, to test the idea, they built a very simple website where they would sell, and they put up a lot of pictures of shoes, not having any of those shoes in their warehouse, but just having the pictures. And once people were clicking to buy, they would get an order and they would run to a shop and try to buy them. Of course, here it was the question, the business was not to make a business out of that, but was to test that people would be prepared to buy shoes online. Moving to the second one, once we are happy that we can achieve a price P or a saving S that is higher than the cost C to perform such activity, we can move to the next phase, which is the growth hypothesis. Here the question is, how will, with the scale, the economics change? How will the behavior of such initiative change with a much bigger audience? So, will the price P have to change? So we all know from economics that if you want to reach a higher volume or higher size of a market, you probably have to work on the price by reducing it. But how much will it be reduced? Will that reduction on price outweigh the economy of scale that you may achieve through cost? If that proves wrong, then you have to work on the initiative, you have to work on the action, because if you carry on, you will be losing. And let's remind ourselves that you need to be patient for growth and impatient for profit. So you need to first figure out a way that you can create value and only then grow it, because the risk is that you will grow very, very fast, but for every euro or every pound or every dollar that you add to your sales ledger, you will incur a cost and a loss. Once that has been proven, then we can move to the last step, which is sustainability hypothesis. This many times comes already with the execution of the plan, so the last roundabout or process, but basically it wants to test two things. First is, will the competition be able to copy us very quickly? If you think of those sort of things before, you may come up with some ideas on how to cover up your innovation or how to make the discovery more difficult. And it could be from a legal point of view or compliance point of view. You could think of patenting, if at all possible, or protecting it through copyright, or in a more sophisticated way, try to create a series of side aspects of your innovation, of your initiative, so that the people will be confused or they could not easily find what you really are about and what you come up with. And last but not least, or the second aspect of the sustainability will be how to get your organization to endorse it rather than push it back. Many times strategic initiatives of all sorts, they are killed by the organization. They are killed not because of anything else than the fact that those initiatives, they don't fit with the way people work. And there are many examples of good products that the sales force of an organization decide not to take on because they think it will jeopardize the relationship they have with their customers. So it's very important in testing this that you will have, for example, what we call a reverse progressive rollout, which means first start the rollout with few more entrepreneurial salespeople, for example, and with them learn what works and what doesn't, and then move on perhaps with some early adopters still among the sales people, so i.e. other sales people that they still are very entrepreneurial but a bit less than the first group, and then do not go straight into the mainstream of your sales force, i.e. the top guys that they sell the most and have the biggest portfolio, but go with the laggards, i.e. the one that you expect that they will raise a lot of problems, because if you go with them, they will render you a great service. They will tell you what could go wrong with the product. Because the first two batches are people that are very keen, so they will overcome issues without sometimes even telling you. Where with the laggards, they are by definition people that they are reticent to change or reticent to take on novelty, and those people will raise a lot of issues that for you it's a great service, because by knowing them you can respond and you can create answers to those, which will then be very useful for the mainstream. And even then, to the mainstream, we advocate and we suggest you not to go all in one batch, but to do it progressively. We call it the Facebook way. So if you have 1,000 salespeople and 800 of which are mainstream, or the core group, go with them 20, 40, 80, 100, 200, 600, and then eventually 800. So in 5 or 6 batches, because remember, a small problem, it's small for 10, it's much bigger for 100, it's huge for 1,000. And early you detect it, early you can resolve it. And this is the way we do the testing. We invite you to send us comments in the spirit of the book, and or via email or via the website. Thank you very much.